If you have a complaint, then leave this house. I resigned from the company where I had been working for many years to take care of Mom and returned to the countryside. I started living with Mom at my childhood home, dedicating myself to her care around the clock. Intent on being a devoted child, I served her without expecting anything in return. But Mom kept bombarding me with requests to buy this or that. I tried to fulfill Mom's requests as much as possible, but then one day, a shocking truth was revealed. My name is Rylan. I am a single employee working at a trading company. I'm about to turn 50. I moved to the city for college, and after graduating, I've been working at the same company ever since. My family home is in a very rural area, unreachable from where I live now without taking a plane. Dad passed away a few years ago due to illness, leaving Mom alone in the countryside. I make it a point to visit home twice a year, during summer vacation and Christmas, but lately, Mom's ability to walk has been declining. At 83, it's understandable, but it reached a point where she needed care due to difficulty walking. However, providing care while working at my company and commuting to my hometown was geographically impossible. Even so, it was geographically impossible to work at my company and commute to my family home for caregiving. If I were to take care of Mom, I had no choice but to quit my job and return to the countryside. I have an older brother, Jonathan, who lives about 3 hours' drive from our family home with his wife. So I asked Jonathan and his wife if they could take care of Mom. But Jonathan and his wife Kyla work full-time, but I hoped they could somehow balance this with caregiving. However, they have a college-age son and need to pay his tuition, so reducing their work hours or quitting was difficult for them. Jonathan said to me, "Rylan, you're single and childless, so you should quit your job and take care of Mom. We can't do it, so it has to be you." Indeed, I am single and have been working at my current company for many years, where I hold the position of director. I love my job, so it was a hard decision, but eventually, I chose to take early retirement and return to the countryside. When I told my company about my decision to leave, I was greatly missed and they tried to persuade me to stay. But when I explained that it was for caregiving, everyone understood and supported me. Leaving the company I had served for so long was tough, and I had wanted to continue working there until retirement. Moreover, having lived in the same city area since moving there, it was sad to leave. Tears naturally flowed as I prepared to move out. But it was all for my one and only Mom. With Jonathan and his family unable to help, I was the only one who could support Mom. I made a promise to myself to do my best in taking care of Mom. Upon my returning home, Mom, with tears in her eyes, said, "Thank you." It was a relief to see her still lively, despite her walking issues. Our relationship was good in the early days of living together. I felt Mom's genuine gratitude for quitting my job to return home for her. What concerned me after moving in was the old home appliances. Everything in the house was decades old, performing poorly, difficult for Mom to use at her age, and expensive utility-wise. There wasn't a single good thing about them, and many were on the verge of breaking. Mom, old-fashioned and resistant to new things, insisted they were fine as they were. But I thought this was unacceptable, and having received my severance pay, started gradually replacing them with the latest models. At first, Mom was resistant to the new appliances, but as she began to use them, she exclaimed, "Well, I never knew washing machines could be this convenient, thank you," and expressed her deep gratitude. I was happy to see Mom pleased, as I hadn't been able to do much for her since leaving home early on. Besides, as I also use these appliances, the newer ones are indeed much more convenient than the old ones, as time went by gradually. "And even the vacuum cleaner is inconvenient. It's loud and heavy. And I also saw this bed cleaner on TV. I want one of those too." She began to demand replacements. She seemed to have grown quite fond of new things. As these were necessities, I was also using them, so I went along with Mom's requests. But gradually, Mom started boldly asking for personal items. When she demanded that I change the curtains in her room to those from a high-end brand costing $2,000 or $3,000, I couldn't believe my ears. When I refused, saying it was too expensive, Mom became extremely angry, calling me a miserly daughter. This kind of thing started happening more frequently, and we began to argue often. Mom, who used to frequently thank me when I first returned home, now constantly sniped at me. Since the atmosphere at home became so bad due to constant arguing, despite my full-time caregiving, I started working part-time at a nearby supermarket and began using a day service to care for Mom during the day. I hoped that by keeping some distance, our fights would decrease and we could live more peacefully. Indeed, my time at the supermarket was a great change of pace. However, I discovered that Mom was spreading lies about me at the day service, calling me a bastard, stupid daughter who never listens to her parents. Our relationship worsened. Even after starting at the day service, Mom continued to pester me for a coffee maker and a massage chair, and I kept refusing. Then, she started making outrageous demands. If you won't buy me them, then give me the money. Thinking this couldn't go on forever, I reluctantly decided to buy the coffee maker and massage chair. Just when I was getting tired of these daily issues, Mom started demanding the latest model mobile phone. She didn't own a mobile phone and had no interest in such things. For Mom to demand the latest model phone was clearly unusual. I asked her, "Why the latest model mobile phone? You don't use one, do you?" At first she insisted, "I'm going to use it." But as I probed further, she confessed something shocking. "I'm going to gift it to Jonathan and Kyla." It turned out that Mom had been gifting some of the appliances I bought for her to Jonathan and his wife. I was stunned to hear that items I bought for Mom were being gifted to Jonathan and his wife, who hadn't even visited us since I moved in. The shock left me stunned. Reflecting on it, Mom had always favored Jonathan over me since we were children. Even when I had better grades than my brother, she would praise him. "Jonathan, you did so well, isn't that great?" But for me, it was always, "Rylan, all you have is your studies, and you can't even get a perfect score." Yet she seemed reasonably happy when I got into a prestigious university in the city. Since moving to the city, the physical distance had lessened the criticism, and I thought we had a reasonably good relationship. But Mom still doted on Jonathan, completely disregarding my feelings. Gradually becoming angry, I said, "Mom, that's not right. What are you thinking? I bought these things for you." But Mom retorted, "Shut up, you moocher. I'm letting you live here, so don't complain. If you're unhappy, then just leave." I was so furious that I stormed out of the house, but I had nowhere to go. I thought I'd stay at a hotel near the station for the time being. While walking there, an elderly person approached me. "Hey, aren't you Anna's daughter? I've heard about you from Anna. Be a bit nicer to Anna, will you?" The elderly person said. Anna was my mom's name. Apparently, Mom had been bad-mouthing me not only at the day service, but elsewhere too. Containing my anger, I simply replied, "Yes, I suppose," and walked away. Even after arriving at the hospital, my anger didn't subside. I regretted quitting the job I loved to return home. I felt furious at Mom, and at Jonathan and his wife for leaving me with all the caregiving responsibilities, despite buying all those appliances for Mom. The thought of Mom continuing to use them nonchalantly filled me with disgust. Then, I decided to execute a plan. The next morning I returned home. Seeing me, Mom laughed mockingly, as if to say, "Oh, you came back?" She started ordering me around, but I ignored her. I only did the bare minimum, like helping her with the toilet. Soon the doorbell rang, and Mom, looking puzzled, asked, "Who could that be?" I confidently walked to the door and opened it. There stood a thrift store dealer. I invited the dealer inside and had them take away the furniture and appliances I had bought. I had arranged for the thrift store to buy them back the day before. Stunned by the scene unfolding before her, Mom began to panic as her belongings were taken away. "Wait, what are you doing? Don't take those!" she cried out. "I'm moving out, so I'm getting rid of my stuff. You don't need what I bought, right?" I coldly said to Mom, and told the dealer to continue, quickly emptying the house. The room looked surprisingly spacious without all the appliances I had replaced. I thanked the efficient dealer and received the buyback amount. It was more money than I expected, which was a relief. Mom was distraught the entire time. After the dealer left, Mom became frantic, shouting, "Do you even realize what you've done?" To her, I coldly said, "From now on, let your precious Jonathan and his wife take care of you." The only things left were an old refrigerator and washing machine, too outdated to be traded in. It was just a return to her life before I came, no problem there. Mom retorted, I don't need you to tell me that. I wanted to live with Jonathan from the beginning, not you. I responded, Is that so? Well, I hope you get to live with him. I'm cutting ties with you, Mom. I left the house, ignoring her yelling. As I closed the door, I could still hear her inside, calling me heartless, regretting having me. I kept walking, not caring. I called Jonathan on my mobile phone. Mom wants to live with you. I've been kicked out and won't be taking care of her anymore. Please look after Mom. I hung up, ignoring his confusion. I headed to the station and arranged a flight ticket back to the city. I called the supermarket where I worked part-time to resign, apologizing for the sudden notice. The manager, knowing about my troubled relationship with Mom, understood and wished me well in the city. Meanwhile, a panicked Jonathan and his wife visited Mom's house and were shocked to find all the appliances gone. Mom clung to them, tearfully explaining that I sold everything to a thrift store. She begged, Please, Jonathan and Kyla, can't you live with me? It's all right, isn't it? But they hesitated, saying, If Rylan isn't here to buy appliances, we're too busy with work. We can't take care of you or live here. They flatly refused. Mom exploded. Don't joke with me. Don't you know how much I've done for you both? But they ignored her and left promptly. Jonathan called me, recounting the whole ordeal. I thought both Mom and Jonathan's family were equally at fault, but I couldn't leave Mom, who was elderly and struggled to live alone, so I contacted the day service and arranged for her to enter a retirement home. Mom was so shocked at being abandoned by Jonathan that she lost all her previous energy. She didn't resist the idea of the retirement home and just went along with it. Jonathan called me demanding, Pay for the retirement home. But I replied, I won't pay. You used Mom to make me buy all sorts of things, right? I'm cutting ties with both of you. Eventually, Mom's retirement home fees were covered by her old age pension and contributions from Jonathan and his wife. However, they never visit Mom at the retirement home, so she leads a lonely life there without friends or visitors. It turns out that Jonathan had gotten into gambling and was in debt. Unable to stop going to casinos, his debts had grown significantly. As a result, all of Jonathan's salary is going towards debt repayment, and Kyla is struggling to cover living expenses and Mom's retirement home costs with her earnings. Despite being a full-time employee, Kyla doesn't make enough, so their financial situation is tough. Their college-age son had to drop out of university because they couldn't pay his tuition. This has caused a lot of strain on their marriage, and they are now facing a divorce crisis. The college-age son had to drop out of university because his parents couldn't pay the tuition, and he resents them for significantly disrupting his life plans. I think he should have taken a part-time job or applied for a student loan, but he seems to be very lazy and lacks the initiative to solve his own problems. He's a disappointment, just like his father. The atmosphere at home is always tense, leading to constant arguments among the three of them. As for me, after returning to the city, I quickly rented a new apartment. It's not very big, but it's a peaceful and comfortable space just for myself. After the stressful time living with Mom, having my own place feels liberating and happy. Being able to live at my own pace without stress is wonderful. I also decided to start a new job. I was a bit anxious about finding work at my age, but I got a job at a financial company. I'm a part-time employee, but my previous experience was highly valued, so I'm being treated quite well. With a renewed spirit, I'm working hard in this new environment. Everyone at my workplace is nice, making it a comfortable and enjoyable place to work. I'm hoping to work here until retirement. Sometimes I think about Mom and Jonathan's family, but I've decided to forget about them and focus on living my life well.